Hello, welcome back to the presentation. And I hope you guys like the song that our team picked. So we are from Team Ready to Go. Today we would like to present our work with the challenge from Stockholm Public Transport, as we know SL. And now we meet the team.
Hi, I'm Anubhuti Gupta, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in integrated product design from KTH Royal Institute of Technology.
I am Ehrenkrona, and I'm currently pursuing my master program in applied social research at Stockholm University.
I am Matilda Svedmalm, and I have a bachelor's degree in nursing and are currently working as a nurse.
Hi, I'm Novita Supardi. I'm currently pursuing a master program in marketing at Stockholm University.
Hi, I am Silvana Alves, and I'm currently pursuing a master's program in open e-government at Stockholm University.
Hi, I'm Silvio Nießner. I'm currently studying sustainable technology at KTH Royal Institute of Technology.
Now we move to the challenge. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, crowdedness in public transport during rush hours is increasing the risk of spreading the virus. SL believes that one way to distribute passenger traffic would be facilitating passengers to plan their travels. Thus, the challenge question is, how can we convey statistic on ridership or congestion to passengers so that they can use the information when planning their journey? And to address this challenge, we come up with our final proposal, Travel Smart campaign. These campaigns aim to influence travel behaviors to avoid crowdedness through incentive and information. But before going depth to the concept, now we move to the overview of the process, how we came up to this campaign. So we move to the phase one. After we've got the challenge, we started in-depth data collection. Then we analyzed the insights that led us to define our point of view for the challenge. And then in the second phase, we decided to have 7 initial concepts after clustered and evaluated many ideas. Then we made prototype and did testing. The testing itself aimed to understand how the respondents would react to the concept, how their behavior could be triggered, and how the concept could be improved. And in phase 3, the insight from 7 initial concepts testing was evaluated through several methods. And finally, we had 1 concept to be developed further and test further. And then the final phase, we received feedback not only from the SL passengers, but also from SL communication department. After deep analysis and discussion in the team, we decided to redefine our point of view and developed the concept further and test it again. And we finally came to Travel Smart campaign. And now we're moving on to the data collections.
Thank you. So an essential part of our project was to gather as much data as possible due to the diversity of stakeholders and users who are part of this challenge, and also the need to have an holistic view for an information-rich analysis. To achieve this, we use multiple methods of data collection, starting with observations, which we divided into 3 situations: individual observations during our own travels with public transportation, online observations through SL social media channels, and local observations, where we spent a morning at Openlab station to observe random passengers' behaviors and also perform 23 pop-up interviews. To diversify our insights and give space for dialogue, we performed 25 in-depth semi-structured interviews with possible passengers. We complemented our data collection with 5 meetings with SL, and we also performed an online survey that gathered 137 responses, where general questions regarding public transport, SL, and the current pandemic were addressed. From this extensive data collection, we gather our insights, starting with passengers. The frequency, which was quite diverse, from ones who travel daily to others who stopped traveling due to the pandemic. Also, their travel habits were different. Some were quite flexible, while others were rigid passengers, mostly due to work schedules. Behaviors also changed, from those who did not care at all to varied worried ones and anxious. And their expectations towards SL were also quite different. Some requested more engagement and stricter rules, others who agreed with SL's position. From our interviews with SL, we also collected the insights that financial stability is crucial and also that it is essential to have a safe environment for both their workers and passengers. These insights also connect to others we gathered from the interviews we performed during September last year, where we were shown that people might have missed information about the pandemic. As the quote here presents, I used to wash my hands in the summer, not now, as Corona is not there anymore. This was during the summer. And they also have different feelings about it. I feel safe here. I shouldn't, but I do. The collected insights gave us material to proceed and evaluate the challenge proposed by SL and transform it into our own point of view for the challenge, which is, how might the passengers recognize and minimize health risks while commuting with public transport, especially during rush hours? Through this point of view, we intend to reflect our position of a broader perspective to reinforce knowledge and practices, focusing on health risks and rush hours. And to continue our process with ideation, I pass on to Matilda.
Yes, so what we did was we started off by creating 7 initial concepts based on the data and insights we made. And all of them had the potential to address the point of view in at least one way. The first one you can see is a wearable campaign where passengers would wear an item of clothing with a specific color or message, and that would manifest people's willingness to keep a safe distance to others. The second one is called separate wagons and aim to assign different wagons of each train for risk groups and non-risk groups. The third one is the visibility campaign, which would be a multiple information campaign to raise awareness of the spread of COVID-19. It would be done with art installations, advertisements, and social media. The next one is the limit bus passengers, which would have an automatic number count of the passengers on the bus by using real-time data. The capacity would signalize the bus drivers to change the monitor to full sat, or it would do so automatically. The fifth one is the SL app, which aimed to develop the application to provide more information about crowding in public transport. The sixth concept is company collaborations, which would be an agreement with companies to change their schedules, increase weekly health hour, and give special prices for public transport so that the employees would travel outside of rush hours. And the last concept we developed was new tickets. Here we had a few different suggestions, for example, non-rush hour ticket and a monthly cap ticket. Our process of selecting concepts started off by creating prototypes. We tested all of the concepts by interviewing 20 potential SL passengers and presenting the concept to SL, who gave us valuable feedback. We also made an evaluation matrix to see each concept's feasibility and to decide on which concept to move on further with. And that resulted in these 4 concepts. In the next selection phase, we made an how, now, wow matrix and came to the conclusion that the SL app concept had to be discarded since similar solutions already exist and SL already work on similar changes. The remaining concepts were then evaluated in their closeness to our point of view. What we further realized was that the company collaboration concept with employees having special non-rush hour tickets could be included in the new ticket concept and thereby affect more people. So that one was discarded. In the following step, we decided to we developed the concepts by making additional testing. The testing this time, along with individual interviews, was also performed in focus groups to see how people react both individually and collectively. The insights was then gathered, and instead of narrowing down to one concept, we made a combination of these two to be able to use the strengths of both of them. The combined concept was aimed to provide passengers with new tickets as an incentive to change behaviors and thereby minimize health risks, for example, with the non-rush hour ticket, and together with a visibility campaign that would help passengers realize how COVID-19 spreads and how it can be minimized through informational advertisements in public transport.
So in the next step, we then want to understand how impactful this combined concept can be and gathered further insights. And we gathered these insights via a survey and a meeting with the SL Communications Department, as Silvana already pointed out in the beginning. And from the survey, we found that crowding is the most problematic thing when it comes to the spreading of COVID-19. And that the customers perceive the tickets from SL as quite expensive. Furthermore, we saw that the people feel unsafe in the public transport right now during the pandemic, and that some people can avoid the rush hours, but some people can't. From the conversation with SL, we found that SL can only communicate in a positive tone, and that it's not possible for SL to give content information about health risks, including COVID-19, because it's just the transportation provider. And we also saw that the long-term goal of SL is actually to increase ridership and move people away from the road, for instance, to the public transportation system. So from these insights, we see that people feel unsafe and that they actually recognize the risks, but sometimes just do not act accordingly. And that since they perceive the tickets as expensive, different tickets or cheaper tickets or something about this can be something that is very powerful to nudge people to actually act accordingly to travel safer. And then from the communications, we see that the visibility campaign, what was intended to give information about COVID-19, we cannot do due to the restrictions that SL has. And also that it may contradict with the long-term goals. So if people maybe carry on a fear of health risks in public transport, even after the pandemic, that could affect the long-term goal of increasing passengers passengers and ridership. So we found that we need to reevaluate our point of view and our concept as a following step. And this we did by shifting the focus away from health risk towards crowding. So because crowding was found that is the major issue also when it comes to health risks. So the new POV sounds like this. How can we influence travel behaviors to prevent crowding in public transportation? And this new point of view has some major advantages. And the first one is, as I said, it prevents the spreading of COVID-19 because people just do not get so close to each other. The next point is that it lowers the peak loads away from rush hours and distributes passengers more even throughout the day. And this also leads to the situation that the transport capacity can be used even better. And with this, it has a long-term perspective even beyond the pandemic. On the next thing, the next step, what we did is we iterated our concept one more time. According to this new point of view that we got. We revisited the old concepts that were presented by Matilda. We did a new brainstorming session, clustered our ideas again, evaluated them, and went into a new testing round with about 15 people. And what we found is that we cannot do the ticket systems or the ticket ideas that we already had, and we need to change the incentive somehow. And we came up with a point-based system for that. Regarding the information part, we understood that we cannot give factual and content information about COVID-19, but instead we wanted to give actionable tips on how crowding can be prevented. And how the point-based system and the actionable tips look in detail will be presented by Anu in the following slides.
So we present to you our concept, Travel Smart, a campaign to influence travel behaviors using incentive and information, where passengers can collect points when traveling outside rush hours and will be provided with easy actionable tips to reduce crowding. The concept tries to use the time pre-travel and during travel efficiently to impact the users. As most decisions are made pre-travel, incentives will affect those decisions, but there are also decisions that passengers make during the travel, which will be affected using information. Also, when people are traveling, they can be reached easily, so multiple channels like posters, screens, and buses will be used. Our survey also presented that a lot of people use the SL app, so that would be used to push the campaign. Passengers will be nudged to plan their travels, reduce number of travels, and get down at less crowded stations, etc. This can be facilitated with stations having map of crowded stations highlighted. Different routes have different rush at different times, which is indicated in the SL app, but to keep it fair for all, the rush hours will be considered same for all the routes as defined by SL. People can collect points outside these hours with any type of tickets, and people with registered accounts can also view their points on their SL. To keep a check on unnecessary travel so that people don't just travel to collect points, a strategic cap on the maximum points that can be collected is kept in place. These points can be used later to get discounts on future travels. To see how this concept can pan out in the real world, we present to you the Travel Smart story.
Once upon a time, on a regular day at 10:30 in Stockholm, you arrive by metro to Odenplan, just as you usually do. When walking up the stairs, you notice the new posters with new information. You cannot take your eyes from them. You approach the poster and you scan the QR code to get more information. Travel smart. Avoid crowd. Avoid the rush hour. And earn points. Yes, you read further. You log in to meet SL. Wow, you already gained some points. When traveling during rush hour, the crowding is annoying for you. So you look at the posters in the coach and that presents tips on how to avoid crowding. You realize that it will probably be even more crowded at your destination, so you decide to get off at an earlier station and walk for the 5 minutes. Later, you realize that you can plan your journeys better, so you open the SL app. When traveling in rush hour, you don't earn points, and this makes you consider to go into the store in the non-rush hour instead. You use the app to compare the alternatives to find the possible routes to plan your journey. Maybe you can also take the other route, which is usually less crowded. You travel during rush hour when you can. You earn points and act on the tips. After some days, you log in to meet SL. You see how many points you have, and you can choose if you want to use them for a discount or for a free ride. You use them for a free ride this time. And by traveling outside rush hour, you get a free ride and more space in the bus.
We analyzed our concept and we realized that there are certain challenges and downsides. The incentive may not affect all, and there can be questions on the fairness when it comes to rigid travelers. The point system should also be such that the incentive is enough so that it nudges people to change, but it should also be economically viable for SL. We feel that this concept will be more economically beneficial for SL when compared to cheaper tickets. Also, getting this balance can be challenging, and we think that this is something SL has a better capacity to evaluate. Having said that, Travel Smart has been designed in a way to reach different users with different opportunities for different travelers, both flexible and rigid. Another positive aspect is that it does not discourage ridership, but aims to distribute it, which aligns with the long-term goal of SL. It adds to the customer satisfaction and builds a better relation with SL. And with more registered accounts, it provides data collection opportunities for SL, which would help them improve their services better. This concept has a potential to grow, and when we look at the future scope of it, it's not a stagnated concept. It can easily be transformed and incorporated into new approaches. The intention is to give possibilities of change through an umbrella concept that is recognizable by passengers. Our user testings brought out that most people would prefer to use these discounts within SL, and also in terms of implementation, that would be the first step. But the concept can also be expanded to partnerships with people being able to use these points or in retail chains and grocery stores, or also with other services within region of Stockholm. This would also be effective for reaching people with sponsored SL cards. The concept could also be expanded with the app and provide a more personalized experience and opportunities to gather data. Uh, we feel that through our extensive process and with constant user testing and feedback session, the intermediate insights and results can help SL, and the final concept, Travel Smart, can be a good first step towards changing travel behaviors. Who have supported us constantly throughout the process and have been very accepting of our ideas, and also Thomas, the marketing director at SL, for his continuous guidance. So in the end, thank you and travel smart.